Welcome back, everybody. We are now officially in the very last hour of this 3-day event of the Geneva Health Forum. Hope you have enjoyed it so far. Hope you have enjoyed the opportunity to mingle in person with colleagues. And now, before we get to the closing ceremony, we will start some fun and very interactive science speed talks. Now, 4 master and doctoral students will present their research project in a 4-minute pitch. But you have a very important role to play. You will be the ones deciding who will win. So please pay close attention because first, you'll have only 10 minutes to vote after all of them have finished. But if you have your smartphones available or your computer, you may want to start heading into the platform. We will provide it with a slide at the end, but we'll start giving you a tip. It is called sli.do. So it's SLI.do. Very simple. You go into your search bar in the website. You go sli, SLI. .do. Sli.do. And then there is a passcode, a code where you can put the password, and that is GHF. So Geneva Health Forum, GHF. It doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase. And that will be open after the students finish presenting their pitches. And you will only have 10 minutes, and you will only have one opportunity to vote. With that said, let the show begin. Let me first introduce you to Awa Ashaye, Babington Ashaye, and Emily Reeve. Now, Emily is project manager at the Swiss School of Public Health and has provided training in scientific communication for postgraduate students, most recently at the World Expo in Dubai. Now, she was also a Science Flash Talk winner this year at another Swiss Public Health Conference. And she will be providing her input and some questions to the contestants today. And Awa is a biochemist specialized in virology and molecular biochemistry at the University of Geneva. And she has been the one who has been training these students, who has guided them in their pitches. So can you elaborate a little bit about what we should expect from them today?
Absolutely. Maybe I'll take a microphone. It should help. It's working? Yeah. So I had a very great pleasure to train those 4 talented researchers, and we were trying to understand how to be concise, compelling in a short time. So what we did is really to break down their research and try to tell a story that will convince all of you. So today, it's a time. We've been waiting for more than a month for you to deliver your speak. So they have 1 minute to present who they are, only 1 minute with one slide, and 3 minutes to convince you about the relevance of their research. So we also want you to look how they can be convincing, but also minding the time.
The moment of truth now.
The real moment of truth. I wish you the best of luck to each of you.
Now a short reminder again. You will have the power to decide who the winner will be. So again, the platform is SLI.do. SLI.do, and the code GHF. Please join me now at welcoming the first contestant, Ashi Créé, from the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay, India.
Hello everyone, good evening. I am Ashi Créé and I'm from India. So I grew up in a family of doctors, and that's why growing up I was always fascinated by this idea of how knowledge can be used as a tool to save lives. So this is exactly what motivated me to do what I do. I'm currently a PhD student at the Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, and I'm working towards finding alternative solutions to the problem of malnutrition, specifically anemia, in my country. And yeah, I mean, that's all about my work. And I'm doing this not as a medical doctor like my South Asian family would have preferred, but I'm hoping to do my bit as a researcher. And apart from my work, I'm someone who enjoys to eat, as you can clearly see, and travel. And I paint at times, and I find my escape in singing. So, and I'm extremely excited. I'm a little nervous to be here tonight speaking to all of you. Yeah, so I'll begin my talk by telling you all about Rima. So Rima is this average adolescent girl from rural India, but she's anemic. So anemia is basically a condition which is marked by lower hemoglobin levels in the blood, which ultimately leads to poor health and degraded potential, which is not something which we desire. So now coming back to Rima. So Rima will grow up to become an anemic woman who then gets married early and then falls pregnant. Now, apart from the risk she has to her own health, she is at high risk of giving birth to either a stillborn baby, a preterm child, or an anemic baby. Now, this child with poor growth and development will have poor educational as well as economic potential, which will ultimately lead to poor nutrition all over again, and thus this vicious cycle of anemia continues. So much so that every second woman in my country is anemic. So does that mean that the government is not doing anything about it or is simply ignoring the issue? No, that's not the case at all. In fact, there are several policies which are already in place and several interventions that have been implemented, but they fail to bring the desired impact. And this is exactly where our research comes into play. So we have analyzed the very recent National Family Health Survey data for the year 2019 and 21 for the prevalence of anemia among women throughout the country. And we found out three main findings. The first one being we found out different clusters, high burden clusters as well as low burden clusters scattered all across the country. And secondly, we found out that in areas where the prevalence of anemia among women was higher, the prevalence was higher among the children as well. Thirdly, we found that in areas where women literacy rates were high, the prevalence of anemia among women was lower. So you might ask how any of this is of any relevance. So this kind of information can actually help the administrators to decide what kind of policy has to be implemented where and when. For example, strategies can be reviewed urgently in the high burden clusters, whereas the low burden areas can focus more on the preventive measures. This is specifically relevant in this post-pandemic era where preventive public health policy is taking the center stage rather than the curative ones. So this kind of analysis, which can help any state or any country with the relevant data, can actually help the administrators to understand where to start from. And the beginning of any process can be the most challenging part, especially if it's a process of making a country as huge as India anemia-free, so that millions of girls like Rima can have a better chance at their future. Thank you so much.
Now, Emily, what did you think?
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us when I say thank you and what a wonderful presentation. Thank you for shedding light on such a prevalent issue in your country. Now, you mentioned a little bit about government policies and what is being put in place already, but you didn't go into detail about that. I was wondering, based on what your information shows, so what your research has been looking at, what would you say that the government should take out of that, or what could government policies do with your research?
Okay, so the government, so with this kind of analysis, we have an idea now that So there is a country, then there's a state, and then there are districts. So once we analyze the data, the ground level data, we have clusters. So we know which neighborhood is affected and how. So the administrators at the ground level can then decide that which policy or what kind of changes or strategies they need to bring in that particular district. And then they can collaborate within themselves according to the clusters that have, suppose, high prevalence. So the administrators in those areas, in those districts, in charge of those districts, can collaborate amongst themselves, and then they can implement various policies and see whether these policies which already exist are reaching the people that need them or not. So I think that should help. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashi.
Okay, thank you.
There you have the information as well. If you can start going into the platform, and that way you have it ready, you will only have 10 minutes after the rest of the contestants are done to be able to vote and decide. Now, the next contestant is Kirubel Mousset from the University of Basel.
Thank you so much for such an amazing opportunity. My name is Kirubel, and I am a third-year PhD student at the University of Basel in biomedical ethics. And I was born and raised in Ethiopia, and I took my bachelor's in social work there and my master's in international community health in Norway. So about my interests, I love classical music and eating cake, and trying new things. For example, I took some Norwegian language courses there, and I tried skiing for the very first time in my life, and I fell so many times on the snow, but I did not give up. And apart from that, I participated in gender equality course, summer school course, and also worked on gender and women empowerment back home in Ethiopia. So thank you for having me, and I say a few things about my research. Starting from when I was 12 years old, I was raised by my mother alone, so I tend to be close to her, and we talk a lot. She's getting older now, she's in her 70s. And one day we were talking, and she said something like this, I'm paraphrasing. My son, I don't really look forward to growing older sometimes, because I don't think our society is ready for that. That's a valid concern. I did not understand much what she was trying to say at that time, not until I started to read more about aging and got the motivation to develop my PhD research project, and luckily got funding for it. So our world is aging, and countries like Ethiopia are struggling with that change, mainly because they are transiting from a traditional to modern support system for older people. So the question in my PhD is, what are then the ethical challenges with the decision-making in old age care in Ethiopia? So to answer this, I interviewed both health professionals and older adults in Ethiopia for several months in 2021, and there were interesting challenges and stories. For example, in terms of COVID-19, older patients getting less priority for treatment than younger patients for different reasons. Saying it's an older patient, he has already lived long, so we should give a chance to the younger patient, unfortunately. Other examples, older patients not getting enough information when decisions are made. An additional last example is families of older patients getting involved too much in decision-making. There was this doctor I interviewed who said to me, I remember, Kirubel, when you treat an older patient, it's tricky because sometimes you end up treating the family much more than treating the older patient, because the family gets involved too much and you need to take care of them as well. Very interesting. These findings imply a lot of different things. For example, it means that we need more geriatrics education and ethics training and ethical guidelines to help health professionals. And another interesting thing about this project is it combines two important topics, bioethics and aging. And both of these topics are believed to be very young, not only in Ethiopia, but also in many African countries. We did a scoping review in my team to check this. So at last, my question is, then what does it take to make better and more ethical decisions? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kirubel. Wonderful story. Oh, I think you've done a wonderful job training them. Now, Emilie, I leave it to you. What questions do you have?
Yes, I can certainly agree that you have done an excellent job in training them so far. Thank you very much on behalf of the audience as well for sharing your knowledge and your expertise in this area. You had touched on some challenges that are often faced by getting elderly patients involved in the decision-making. I was wondering, what could you tell us about those challenges? Could you expand a little bit on that?
Yes, thank you. A very interesting question. So the main challenge here is, for example, they don't get enough information when decisions are made in healthcare settings. And the challenges come from both health professionals and older patients. Because I interviewed both, right? So the health professionals say, you know, they take our time and we have to explain a lot and we have patients waiting outside and we need to address them. They get angry and those things. So they don't inform them much. And the older patients also complain saying, you know, they don't treat us well properly due to modernization. They no longer give care or attention to older people. You know, this and that things, and that makes it tricky because both have their own reasons for not involving, or older patients have also their own reasons for not being involved in decision making. So these are the challenges from both sides.
Thank you for addressing my question.
Thank you so much, Kirubel Mousset.
Thank you so much.
From the University of Basel.
Thank you.
Again, you have the information in here. He is the second contestant, Kirubel Mousset, from the University of Basel. Previously, we heard from Ashi Kade from the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay. Now, the third contestant is Jan-Pieter Sandler from Katholieke Universiteit Leuven in Belgium.
Hello everyone. I just want to say first that it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I've learned so much about the topic of global health the last few days and its complexity, and that has been truly inspiring. My name is Jan-Pieter and I'm a philosophy student, a master at the Katholieke Universiteit of Leuven in Belgium. And when I was looking for an image to show to you that I'm a philosopher, I found this image on Google, which I thought was actually quite fitting. And you might be wondering as well, what's a philosopher going to be telling us about global health today? But don't worry about that too much, I'll be making that clear later on. And the first hint is actually that I used to be part of a transdisciplinary team working on pandemic preparedness. Besides studying, I also used to be a football trainer. And I'm also a local radio presenter right now of the Roots and Chalice radio show. And we only play reggae music, as that's the best music to soothe our souls. So let's get into the research. As I said, I was part of a transdisciplinary team working on pandemic preparedness. And our goal was to study the pandemic as a wicked problem. And to explain that problem, I want to rely on my experience as a football coach. So imagine we're all part of a football team. Some of us are players, others are the coaches, and the others are fans. And we're all very happy because our team is winning every week. Only on one day we're facing this new opponent, and we're losing. And the coaches, they decide, well, let's switch things up. The only problem is the players don't actually know how to play this new tactic. And so they look like fools on the pitch. And they make everyone else look like fools as well. And what happens is that the players get angry at the coaches, and the coaches at the players, and the fans are going completely insane because they don't understand what's going on. So we see that there's this resentment and opposition being created by implementing sudden change. Now, what did we study exactly? Well, first, we looked at what the gaps were during the pandemic in Belgium, and we looked at its preparedness, and we did this through a co-creation workshop by inviting stakeholders, and we found that every stakeholder has a very particular view and a very particular experience of each of these gaps. Then, secondly, we started thinking about, well, how can we become more prepared as a society? And we came up with the idea of pandemic preparedness goals. And we used the Sustainable Development Goals framework as inspiration. It has goals, and to measure your progress, it has targets and indicators. Then, what we're doing right now is actually to devise a methodology to give to local communities. Because these goals, they need to attune to the local needs. So if we want to be prepared, we're going to need clear goals. But the second and even harder question, is actually to get everyone on board. And that's where the transdisciplinary approach is going to be key. You see, by including the stakeholders from the very beginning, we're going to give them the feeling that they're being heard. And that feeling is going to strengthen our societal resilience. And secondly, by including them from the start, all of them, they're going to have this, that's going to improve our transparency towards them, which is going to build trust between the lowest and highest levels of society. So there's actually only one question that we have to answer right now. And that is, are we ready to start working as a team to become better prepared before the next pandemic? Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent job, Jan-Pieter. Really, so far with the three contestants, I've been completely compelled from beginning to end. Those who are walking just now, or who have been walking in the last few minutes, these are doctoral and master's students from all over the world who came here to pitch, to do a 4-minute pitch, basically, that has to be very concise, compelling, about their research project. So far, congratulations, very well done. Now, Emily, a question for Jan-Pieter?
Yes, thank you, and I can only echo your sentiments. Very well done. And perhaps then, when it comes to a question, you mentioned about goals, so pandemic preparedness goals. Could you give an example of such a goal?
Yes, thank you. That's actually an excellent question to ask. And to be honest, I can't give an example. We have made examples of goals, but they actually don't fit the local needs of every community. So we can't say these are the goals. But what we can do is we can say, well, we need to address certain themes. One of those themes is healthcare. The other one is making sure that governments are actually able to react to these pandemic events. Another one is education, because that is probably the key. And that's actually one of the goals we had, which is improve learning. And there, I think, the most important thing is going to be implementing ways of learning students from a young age to think in a transdisciplinary way so that they can tackle the challenges that we face these days and in the future in a complete holistic way.
Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome. Thank you very much once again.
This was Jan-Pieter Sandler. And here is where you can vote. Again, it is your decision. You are the ones who decide who the winner is in this competition. Now, our fourth and last contestant is Milinde Huguet from CTARA IIT Bombay.
Thank you for having me. It's an incredible opportunity to share my insights with you all. My name is Milinde Huguet. I'm an engineering student doing Masters in Technology and Development at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. During my master's program, I got an opportunity to discover about the various development concerns in India. And I realized that the malnutrition has been one of the most serious development concerns and also the root cause of several non-communicable diseases, not only in India, but also in many other countries. So that's why I started developing my interest and working towards addressing the malnutrition among children under the 2 years of age. So, besides I like to go on trekking and hiking, you can see a couple of pictures of me over here. And in the time of pandemic, I also started learning cooking. But I must admit that my mother is still reluctant to let me cook again because I have done some terrible experiments in her kitchen. So thank you for having me, and let's move towards the research. So according to the Lancet Medical Journal, around 3.1 million children dies because of the malnutrition. And these results have been published by Lancet Medical Journal for annually. I cannot imagine if something like this happened to my niece, Pari, who is just 1 month old. There are several studies that recommend exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life to have a better start. But I must say that the breastfeeding, even if exclusive, can be suboptimal if the technical skills and the practices are not appropriate. So here, in order to tackle this issue, we conducted the first experimental research in which we examined the impact of effective breastfeeding practices on the nutritional outcomes. So in our study, we counseled the mothers who were in the last month of their pregnancy with the effective breastfeeding techniques. In the other control group, we had the mothers who were practicing the traditional way. So in the research, the counseling was done with the help of health spoken tutorials which are designed at IIT Bombay. These tutorials are the series of videos that teaches about maternal factors, breastfeeding techniques, and the complementary feeding, and many more. These tutorials are available on YouTube in 35 Indian languages. So let's move to the results. We observed that in the group where the mothers were counseled about the breastfeeding techniques, that there was 3 times lesser prevalence of undernutrition among the children. These results were irrespective of the birth weights and the maternal factors. So what is the importance of a study in the public health perspective? So in the time of pandemic, when the continuity of health services became challenging, we provided a pathway by which the existing government programs can provide and also reduce the malnutrition at an early stage of life. So imagine a child, let's say my niece Pari. If she has been given a proper nutritional care at an early stage, she would grow healthy, she would grow taller, and also she will have performed well in his academics. She might have land in a decent job. And the billion of children like Pari can have a better life. So I stop here with a question that what more should be done in order to tackle the malnutrition across the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Milinde. Now, Emily, any questions?
Yes, thank you very much again on behalf of the audience. And perhaps there are some in the audience who are researchers themselves and would be interested to know a little bit more about the design of your research. So your research design, specifically what it was and why you selected that specific research design.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So the research was conducted in the Banaskantha district of Gujarat. The participants, as I mentioned, were the pregnant mothers, and these were mothers. This is an experimental study in which we had 2 groups, experimental and the control group. So the participants were divided equally, and in the experimental group, we counseled mothers about the breastfeeding techniques. So this was the design of the study.
Yes.
That would be all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again for having me. Thank you.
You just heard Melinde Uke. Now, thanks to all of our contestants for the passion you have demonstrated in your research projects. It is very noticeable indeed. Again, congratulations, Awa. Your students have been completely excellent. Now, it is time to vote. The moment of truth has come, and it is your decision now. So please go to www.sly.do and enter the event code GHF. If you have your smartphones or your computers, please do use it. And you can select your favorite participant. You have 10 minutes to decide. So in the meantime, let's just listen to trumpetist Louis Asport from the Haute École de Musique de Genève. Thank you, Louis, for sharing such an inspirational piece. Now, I hope you've voted. And we are now starting the closing ceremony, the last half hour of the Geneva Health Forum 2022. My colleague Olivia will be in charge of announcing the winners of the health innovations that you've seen in the booths upstairs. And of course, the winners have been chosen by you. So thank you all for having taken the time to vote. Olivia, the floor is now yours. Thank you to everyone. It's a time that I know that many of you have been waiting for, are eager to find out, because as usual for the Geneva Health Forum, it's time for us to give a little bit of suspense and present the awards that we have all been waiting for. Now, to continue Ariane's train of thought, there is about 7 more minutes I can calculate left for the Slido voting, so please just grab your phone, laptop quickly, put in the votes, so we can announce the winners in just a short moment. Now, for the very first award, it's going to be the Maurer Prix. And for that, I would like to welcome Professor François Chapuis, as well as Guy Maurer Cecchini from the Fondation, to announce the winner.
Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, we created the Cecchini in memory of our daughter who had chosen to devote herself to research on neglected tropical diseases. After having studied pharmaceuticals, she worked with Dr. François Chapuis on leishmaniasis before working in the Basel Tropical Institute illness, trypanosomiasis. And after her tragic accident, we decided to extend her effort by assisting research by the award of a prize every 2 years. Professor François Chapuis is at the head of the scientific committee evaluating the candidates with the assistance of Dr. Tin Verdong from Antwerp, and Professor Marlene Bornetz, who passed away, Christian Bury from the Public Health Institute in Basel, and Professor Simon Croft of London. We would like to thank all 4 of them for having accepted this task. This year, the 7th edition of the prize is being awarded. We've received 16 candidates, and I'd like to thank all researchers for their participation. The final choice was very close, and I would like to turn to Professor Chapuis so he can introduce the award.
2022 Maurer Cecchini Award. The best published work in 2020 or 21 on neglected tropical disease, clinical research, and the winner is Dr. Evelyn Hürlimann from the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute.
The committee of the Maurer Foundation and the family of Anne, on behalf of the whole research team and our PI and supervisor, Professor Jennifer Kaiser, I would like to thank you to have chosen us for this year's award for Anne Maurer, and we feel deeply honored. And I would like to reassure you that your prize will serve greatly to continue our mission to find but also advocate for better treatment options against soil-transmitted helminthiasis, which is the disease which still affects more than 1 billion people worldwide. So thank you very much.
Now it's time to move on to our second prize, the Prix d'Or des Postes. And for this, I would like to also announce the nominees that we have. First up, Gulara Afandieva, Maxime Kallen, Paloma Kiwan, Hélène Monet, Shaila Nagpal, Alan Ibanzo, as well as Jeanette Wogang. And they're all sitting in the front rows, I believe. And for this, I'd like to bring to the stage, of course, Antoine Flaro, as well as Bruno Lab. Welcome.
so many good posters. And the winner are Alain Ondrik Anzo, Alain Ondrik Ibanzo for One Health community-based midlife mortality surveillance for Ebola. I said the winners are because there is a coup de cœur from the Fondation Privée des HUG to Sheila Nagpal for the importance of investing in prevention of deforestation for fighting against infectious disease outbreaks from the London School of Economics and Policy Science in London. Is she here? No.
We'll be able to send the award, hopefully by mail. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to welcome for the next award, the Prix Gédor de l'Innovation. As usual, let me call out the nominees first of all. Luigi Serio for caffeine, Eric Bach de Sant, Major Shetty from Emvolio, Andrei Sapkowski, Mariano Garcia, Professor Alain Gevert, as well as Jona Lagueda. And I hope I pronounced everyone's names okay and it's understandable. Now, for this, I'm going to welcome Jörg Utzinger, as well as, I think it's Jörg who's going to be delivering this to announce the winner of the prize. Thank you.
It is my very great pleasure to award this prize for the best innovation to Pneumoscope.
Thank you very much. It's really a great honor for my team, you know, and as you can imagine, this is not the work of only one people, but if I can, I would like just to invite, you know, the people from my team, and only part of them, just to come to the stage with me, I mean, to share this award. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Alexandre, Indiana, and Daniela. Bravo. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alain Gervais.
Thank you very much. We'll find a way to divide the prize into 4 pieces. And Antoine Flarot, before you leave, you're going to be playing a very special part also for the next section, so I'd like you to stay on stage because we do have the Prix Gédor for the Science Speed Talks. Now, what we've been discussing just a moment ago, for this, once more the nominees, Ashi Carré, Kirbil Musi,
Jan-Peter Sandler, as well as Milinkuma Uke. So those are the nominees for you, and in the past 20 minutes, we've been busy counting those votes. Let me welcome Emily Reeves from SSPH+, to come to the stage, and Anton Flarot to deliver the award, as well as announce the winners.
So you have voted for Kirubel Moussi.
Thank you. Okay, last, we come to the Prix du Grand d'Or de Genève. And for this, let me welcome Monsieur Ali Shalabi, who is part of AXA, which is also a sponsor of the event, who helped make this all come to life. Welcome.
Monsieur le Président, chers collègues.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, in the name of AXA, I have the honor of being present to the launch of the Grand d'Or de Genève, and I'll continue in English.
The research fund is the philanthropic access in the world. To that respect, with our partnership, we have launched 2 important workshops in this forum. The first one on improving access to surgical care for children in Africa, which was presented yesterday, and the second one, which was improving access to mental health care in Asia, which took place today. The timely theme of the Geneva Health Forum this year, linking COVID-19 to environmental issues, is urgent, and it's urgent for a better understanding of the impact of the environmental degradation on health. At AXA, we share the Geneva Health Forum's conviction that continuous research progress is essential for finding innovative and long-term solutions to the global health problems. For this reason, the AXA Research Fund has joined forces with the Geneva Health Forum for launching the Grand d'Or de Genève and to support the promising research for the team in the field of One Health and planetary health. Thank you so much.
Yes, I have to say that AXA has been instrumental in supporting the Geneva Health Forum. And when we decided to create this Grand d'Or de Genève, AXA agreed not to belong to the jury, to the committee which voted eventually for the Grand d'Or. That was only the program committee members. So I thank the program committee members for having selected the Grand d'Or this year. And the winner is
Healthy Forests, Healthy People, Health in Harmony from the Harvard T. Chan School of Public Health and Zoo New England Partners by Dr. Sakib Burza. Congratulations.
And everyone, Stephen Cornish, the Director General of MSF Switzerland, is collecting the award on behalf of Health in Harmony.
So I'm honored to accept this award on behalf of Jonathan Jennings, the Executive Director at Health in Harmony, and the whole Health in Harmony team. Health in Harmony is focused on protecting rainforests, and they do so by improving community well-being, by investing in communities and indigenous peoples, and finding joint solutions through a methodology all of their own called radical listening. And then co-designing the projects. And they co-design projects that meet healthcare needs, that look at livelihoods, and that end up transforming the relationship between peoples and the forests around them, and ending up taking off the pressures. The communities and the indigenous people themselves respect and understand the value of the forest, but because of pressures on their own livelihoods, they have to degrade that forest in order to make ends meet. And by providing the healthcare, by looking at sustainable solutions in agriculture and other livelihood mechanisms, Health and Harmony has been able, over the last decade, to reduce the pressure on forests to help reforestation, and then to go that very next step. And the very next step is what this project is about. It ends up being able to look at the viral load that forest animals are shedding and looking at the spillover effects into humans. There have been very few programs, either national, government, or multilaterals, that have invested in forest protection and looking at upstream solutions to zoonotic spillover. And that's the focus then of the project, and so they're absolutely thrilled with today's award. The project will unite experts in diverse disciplines, including public health, veterinary medicine, disease ecology, and forest ecology, and it's one of the first attempts to fill the gap through a prospective cohort study. The funds that this award will provide will be used to investigate changes in human health in relation to changes in forest integrity and in wildlife health over a decade of Health and Harmony's interventions. So thank you so much for this award. It means everything to the team. We've had some initial collaboration with Health and Harmony in Madagascar and certainly look forward to their results. We believe it will help all of our work collectively. So thank you so much.
Big thank you to everyone. And Antoine, as usual, I'd like you to stay on the stage because you're still going to be playing an important role up until the very end. It's now time for us to get a little bit of an overview of what exactly happened over the past 3 days and to get a little synopsis, let's call it like that. Let's call up on stage as well Bruno Lab, Alexandra Kami, as well as Emily Reeves to deliver these final remarks. Welcome.
Emily, the first words are for you.
Thank you for the floor. It's a privilege to be here representing the Swiss School of Public Health together with one of its deputy directors, Professor Fleureau. And for those of you who are not familiar, the Swiss School of Public Health is a national coordinating body for postdoctorate research in public health sciences in Switzerland. And as what we've seen today, students in such fields where they're studying this are so important, not only for the communication and research of global health, but also for its advancement. As mentioned earlier, I was part of overseeing a sustainability project in which Swiss students, so students from Switzerland, were sent to the World Expo in Dubai to explain about sustainable development goals. And here today and at the Geneva Health Forum, we have been on the receiving end, so myself and other students from around the globe, of actually very interesting and important insights into this field. So on behalf of the next generation, I'd like to say thank you, and we will continue to seek to do our best at being the next generation in this global health effort. Thank you.
Before I add a few concluding words, I have a message of solidarity for the victims of the war in Ukraine, as well as to all the victims of all conflicts, maybe less talked about in the news media. What can I say about the past 3 days? So much to say. It's not easy to sum up what was said during those discussions, but I do have a few observations to say that this was a very successful forum with the presence of NGOs, scientists that are deeply convinced by and worried by the loss of biodiversity. They call on us to take action. The Geneva Health Forum is a forum very rich by the presence of experts, academics, representatives of the private sector, political leaders that came here to talk to one another, to discuss the One Health approach. The Geneva Health Forum is also an opportunity to offer innovative workshops, interactive workshops, hosted sessions on NOMA, uterus cancer, as well as the festival Prenons soin ensemble. A few figures I'd like to share with you. So there were about 1,600 attendees to this forum. 103 innovations were presented during this forum, which is quite impressive, and 347 speakers over the past 3 days, which is a huge task, and I would like to thank the organizers for this.
What have we learned from this 9th edition of the Geneva Health Forum 22? Many very rich and inspiring take-home messages. I will take a couple of them. There are many causes of concerns with planetary health: loss of biodiversity and its loss of dilution effect, climate change and its impact on health with an unfair distribution on the planet, pandemics, but also, to quote Juliette Binoche in The Making of Pandemics, we have watched yesterday evening, there is a glimmer of hope, une lueur d'espoir. With the younger generations and our dear students participating here, and who are the best representatives, we are demanding today to act. We are demanding to act now. We want to change our behaviors. We want the governments to change their public policies. We want to share innovations, ideas, methods, and tools to better protect health and our planet. And now I want to give the floor to the founding supporter of the Geneva Health Forum, together with the HUG, the University of Geneva and the Faculty of Medicine of Geneva, and the Vice Dean, Alexandra Calmi.
Merci beaucoup. Merci Antoine.
Thank you, Antoine. Thank you to the organizers of this forum. I came prepared with several speeches, and I'll just deliver the shortest one. I think you've heard enough statements. I'm very proud, and thank you for this invitation. The GHF resonates with me because it talks about Geneva. Geneva is known to be a multicultural, generous city where diplomacy, politics, and health meet. And more than never before, this synergy is necessary if we want to help the new generation of healthcare workers to see a future as we are experiencing a war in Europe, in Ukraine, which should be protected by treaties that were signed here in Geneva. I do not have an answer. However, I do believe that dialogue should have a place in this world that has been torn apart. For those of you that are here tonight, I encourage you to go to Stravinsky's at the BFM building. The second word in this forum is health. health has been disturbed in an unprecedented way due to the pandemic, a pandemic which has contributed and increased morbidity in Europe never seen before since World War II. And this is quite important to be mentioned. In spite of all this, public health institutions remain resilient throughout. They were at the forefront of this effort, showing solidarity and flexibility. We were not prepared for these pandemics and experienced in real time the unpredictable meeting of a virus and billions of people. This virus has no strategy, whereas humans can face such a challenge. I've read somewhere that only 5 diseases can appear and are connected to animals, 3 of which are connected to animals. The concept of One Health, the One Health approach that we've heard throughout this meeting, is particularly timely, and it's only together that we will find a solution. And the last word in this GHF is forum. After 2 years of not being able to meet in person, we were able to come together, talk to one another, and because of this democracy of ideas and exchanges, as Vice Dean of the University of Geneva, I'm very proud to be able to deliver this message of solidarity, because our institutions, whether the hospital or the university, have mobilized to take up those challenges, those major challenges, the pandemics, but also what Bruno Lab has just talked about, in the way we're still connected with the refugees of Ukraine. I would like to thank the Geneva Health Forum for its key actions, and I do hope that we'll be able to host you here. Thank you very much.
And Emily Reeves. Now, Antoine, Bruno, I'd like you to stay on stage, because Bruno, you have some words as well for the partners.
Now it's about giving a few thanks to all the partners, the numerous partners that are supporting and that we definitely hope will be supporting in the future. Worth to mention here that a number of them are committed to support on the midterm, meaning that there is a support for the next edition to come in 2024. It's also time to thank the ones that are remaining and that are trying to stay in the shadow, but that we would like definitely to congratulate Eric Comte, Dr. Eric Comte and his team, that would deserve a big applause.
Thank you also to the program committee, because, you know, the program committee is a program of 30 partners, 30 plus partners and supporters of the Geneva Health Forum who work a lot. They have convened in Zoom meetings for many, many months from the beginning to the end achievement of this program. So thank you, all of you. You were an asset for this Geneva Health Forum. I also want to thank particularly la Direction du Développement et de la Coopération de la Confédération, ainsi que la République et le canton de Genève pour leur soutien sans faille depuis le début de cette aventure.
I thank them for their unwavering support. Thank you.
That the Geneva Health Forum is not only an event every other year, it is a continuing process. And we have set up a platform which allows a couple of events which could not happen during the Geneva Health Forum, not mature enough, or we would like to continue the work which has been started. And some workshops have already started a long time before these 3 days of the Geneva Health Forum, and we know that they will continue their work for some of them, and we also know that some people want the Geneva Health Forum to serve as these platforms to convene in small expert meetings in various methods and various tools and various ways during the couple of months ahead of us. So thank you for that, and we will keep in touch, and we are very, very happy to continue with you.
Big thank you. Antoine Flarot, Bruno Lab. So, very finally, I'd like to welcome Jen Neeson. He has a very special announcement for something that you should pencil into your calendar for November. Welcome to the stage.
Hello everyone, my name is Jens Nielsen. I'm the CEO of World Climate Foundation based in Copenhagen, Denmark. I'm very pleased to announce here today a new summit, the Global Biosecurity Summit. And this summit will take place here in Geneva, the 2nd of November this year. I'm also very happy to announce this summit in a partnership with our fantastic host for this event, the Geneva Health Forum, and a number of other partners. I think it's been a great few days being here in Geneva at Geneva Health Forum. Fantastic sessions and a fantastic crowd to meet. We come from the climate sector, and we also work within biodiversity and have done that for quite some years. We hope, of course, to integrate these aspects that are very much related, and we also welcome the One Health concept that takes into account animal health and environmental health. We also hope to apply some of the learnings in the climate space that we have been just a little part of, and that's in our role has mainly been in establishing a cross-sector collaboration and getting the public and private sector to work together. Climate change has definitely not been solved, but at least we know better where we are, and we know better where we want to go to. There's a strong unity around that. There is a framework being developed that's improved every year in engaging countries, but also engaging the business sector, the finance sector, and civil society. And added to that, and just inspired by the woman that mentioned the next generation, I would say what works these days, I would say the biggest change driver is actually climate activism and the push from the younger generation. There's nothing that works more than moving votes and moving the buying potential. At the summit in November, the Global Biosecurity Summit, our plan is to also establish a permanent international network that can collaborate on integrated and structured solutions around the identification, detection, and prevention of future pandemics, and with the base being here in international Geneva. And if you're interested in taking place or taking part of that and partnering with us, do not hesitate to get in touch with us or the Geneva Health Forum. You can find our contact information at both our websites. So thank you very much, and see you the 2nd of November. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much. We've thanked all the organizers, the sponsors, the speakers, but of course we also have to thank you for being here for the past 3 days, for asking questions, for sitting in and listening in. What I really hope is that you all manage to digest and take away things that you can talk with friends, family, colleagues afterwards on your way back home. And most of all, from now until the next event, I hope you get working on those ideas so we have some incredible stories to tell for the 10th edition of the Geneva Health Forum, which will take place in 2024. A big thank you to everyone.